टायटल करायचं टायटल तर एडिट नाही होणार टायटल एडिट केलं मला बंद होणार डायरेक्ट यूट्यूबवर आपण लाईव्ह गेलो.
आप कैमरा लेवल कर रहा हो तो
तिकडे आउट पण अप्लाय करू. पण त्याला दिला ना पेनड्राईव्ह.
वो बोला मुझे कहीं भी कोई भी
यूट्यूबला टाकलं यूट्यूबवर लाईव्ह चालू. जाऊन लाईव्ह लाईव्हच आहे लाईव्हच आहे लाईव्हच आहे लाईव्हच आहे लाईव्हच आहे
खाली कॅमेरा ऑन करना बस
मला ते
बॅटरी खतम होईल.
2022. CASMB welcomes you to National Seminar powered by Quality Council of India and Anufood. I request all the delegates to be on the stage, please. Please welcome our guest. A round of applause. President of CASMB to give a brief introduction of CASMB.
Thank you, Diksha. Good morning all. Our guest speakers today, Mr. Pandeji, Ms. Varsha ma'am, Ms. Pooja, and Mr. Umesh from the chamber and all the delegates who are gathered here today. Welcome for today's fascinating sessions organized by QCI. We'll be having 2 talks. Before we get into those 2 talks, I take this opportunity to talk a little bit about our chamber, which is the Chamber for Advancement of Small Medium Businesses, which is based out of Mumbai. It was founded in 2020. We have our office in BKC, and more information can be found on our website at casmb.org.in, as well as on all our social media handles, be it Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, where we are also live right now. Some of you might be watching me on YouTube as well. The chamber was founded at the height of COVID-19 in 2020 because we realized that a lot of micro, small, medium enterprises were struggling, and to make them resilient, to make them stronger and bounce back from the challenges that the pandemic had put forth, we had started this chamber. Next please. Next. The key objectives that we were able to list out were to ensure the advancement, and that's a very important word because there are MSMEs employ more than 11 crore people in India. It's the largest employer. People think that MNCs are the ones who employ a lot. No, it's actually the medium small enterprises which employ the most. It also contributes significantly to the Indian GDP and more than 40% in the manufacturing export. So MSME does play a key role. So to empower them, to represent them in various forums, be it in various government agencies like Ministry of MSME, Ministry of Food Processing. At the same time, we are trying to bring in the latest technologies that have been offered by research institutes, academic institutes, all the way down to the grassroots level. We have also been able to bring in the MSME as a partner here for this exhibition. And if you have an Udyam registration, you would actually get up to 100% subsidy for taking a stall up to 1.5 lakh rupees. For non-women, non-SC/ST candidate, the subsidy is given up to 80%. So some of these schemes that are available from the government through our chamber, we have been trying to propagate it to the grassroots level. Next please. We are blessed with a very strong advisory board. Some of the names you might be already familiar, very well-known people in our, especially in the food industry. Next please. We are also very happy to announce today, for the first time we'll be announcing that Dr. Prabodh Halde has agreed to become the chairman of our chamber, along with me continuing as the president and Umesh continuing as the secretary. So with Sir joining us on a full-fledged basis, we hope to be able to do many more activities going forward. Some of the key initiatives we have listed out here. We run a knowledge series, a lot of trainings, also as part of Food Tech Pathshala, which is an e-learning portal. Some of you might be familiar. We have more than 100 hours plus training programs primarily in the food area. We have a startup buddy program. We incubate many startups, probably more than 250 startups. Some of them are also here, where we have worked with them right from their product development all the way to taking them to the market. We have our investor network. We similar to what you may have seen on Shark Tank, we do that, and we have an event coming up called FunQuest in Bangalore on 23rd, where the startups who are looking for funds will actually pitch to the investors on 23rd September in Bangalore at 1 p.m. We also come out with a quarterly magazine called Purna Brahma. All the copies are available on our stall at C50, as well as it is available in the PDF and flipbook manner on our website as well. We work extensively to achieve the forward linkages, because most of the startups, most of the businesses have a challenge where they have a great product but they are not able to sell. So creating a forward linkage, creating an export market for them is something that we have extensively worked on. And like I said, we have been liaising as well as doing advocacy with different government, foreign agencies. We have been taking our members for various tours, including we did 3 factory visits in a virtual manner during the COVID, where they were able to visit Chitare Bandhu's Bakarwadi and Kaju Katli factory. Sitting at their home, they were able to visit through a virtual tour. And we are also having a special emphasis towards women entrepreneurs. In fact, you will see in our stall where there's a woman entrepreneur. There are a few other entrepreneurs who are also displaying some of their products over there. Next, please. So some of the achievements in less than a year and a half, I'm very happy to list out here. Like I said, more than 250 startups in some way or the other, we have helped them through the incubation center or the startup buddy program. More than 15 startups have reached a certain level of funding through the various initiatives that we have done. We have done various buyer-seller meets, including with the government of Maharashtra, the MCDC department, the VSTF department, and we have been able to achieve sales for a lot of, especially the self-help groups or the Mahila Bachat Guts. And we have undertaken many technology transfer sessions. All the videos are available on our YouTube channel as well, right from NIFTEM to CFTRI to ICT and various other food research institutes who have developed various technologies have been showcased through their talks and are available on the YouTube channel. Next, please. The one before. So you can also be part of the chamber. You can have access to the chamber office in BKC, and there are various different, like I said, free or subsidized trainings or exhibitions or seminars that we keep organizing. Next, please. You can visit us on C50 to know more. Most of the chamber team is also here, who have been working tirelessly for, I would say, last 15 days for various seminars and various other things that we have been organizing. Next, please. We have tried to keep the membership very nominal at around 2,500 per year, or you can become a life member paying 25,000. Next, please. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the 2 talks, the 2 esteemed speakers that are here today. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to us at stall number C50 or at these numbers. This is my phone number. Probably WhatsApp is the best way to get in touch with me. Thank you very much, and once again, welcome all to today's seminars.
Thank you, sir. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest and our first speaker, Dr. Manish Pandey, Director and Head of Project Analysis and Documentation Division at Quality Council of India. QCI's mandate is to lead nationwide quality movement in India through its various boards like NABH, NABL, NABT, NABCP, NBQP, and special project groups. A sustainability practitioner is leadership roles for over 2 decades. Dr. Pandey is also nominated Chair NPIC Network UNFS. Dr. Pandey has done his PhD from Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education prior to joining QCI. In 2012, he has worked in SGS India Private Limited as Head Government and forestry services. At UCI, he is leading flagship governmental and intergovernmental initiatives such as Indian National Platform on Private Sustainability Standards, design and development of conformity assessments framework for schemes such as UAS, DGCA, medicinal plants, NMPP, HRAA, FSSAI, ABAS, UNDP, Yoga certification, nodal for National GLP Compliance Monitoring Authority. He is empaneled as expert member of various technical committees and working groups of schemes that are run by the Government of India and its associate bodies. The topic today is leveraging conformity assessment frameworks for ensuring food safety from farm to fork.
Good morning, all. I would like to thank the organizers for identifying the Quality Council of India to speak about the initiative specifically focusing on food. But we all understand that food is something which comes out of agriculture and at times out of forest. So my presentation is about leveraging conformity assessment frameworks for ensuring quality from farm to fork. Next, please. So, what I'm going to speak is about what is compliance, how quality is maintained in various systems, and some of the schemes that the Quality Council of India runs to ensure quality in the food chain. Now, this is the division that I head, and if you see, the primary work of my division is to create conformity assessment frameworks which are internationally recognized and focus on something which we call it as a third-party assessment systems. We also do a lot of benchmarking, which means that we only don't create schemes which are specific to the country, but we also show the world that these schemes that we deliver actually has relevance both in the domestic and in the global market. Now, you all come from the food background, so I'm just going to kind of set the context and not, teach you what are the issues. But we all understand that these are the challenges which needs to be addressed while you do business in food. Now, this is something about contaminants, this is about traceability, this is about market access, this is also about marketing and promotion of the food that you prepare, process, but at times you are not able to communicate it properly to the buyers either in the domestic market or in the international market. Now, since we come from the Quality Council of India and quality is our focus, so the main safety approaches that is being considered by us is a food chain approach. So we don't address issues piecemeal. We talk about the entire food chain approach, and when we talk about interventions, it is not just a blanket intervention. It focuses more on the risk-based approach. Being a part of the government, we also tell that we are not going to tell about what a private body has to do or what a farmer has to do. We talk about food control and regulatory systems and try to see that what is the best way that all these stakeholders be a part of such systems and contribute towards the food safety part. Of course, codex standards, we all understand, we come from the food background. It is referred extensively to whenever we prepare our frameworks or request people to follow it. Now, when you talk about roles and responsibility, this is an important part. We all need to understand that it is not only a single person's responsibility to focus on food safety. We say that it is a business of all or a responsibility of all, and then we say that it comes from the farmers to the aggregators, to the processors, and of course to the transporters, and then each has a role to play, and there is a separate slide which talks about the roles. When you talk about the approaches I've already mentioned, we talk about the farm, we also talk about the processing systems, and of course we also talk about the holistic systems when the issue has to be addressed from a very food chain angle. So we talk in terms of quality in the farm through good agricultural practices, and this is not restricted to farm, but also it extends to the pack houses. We focus on the farm from a very food safety angle by seeing that the inputs are controlled. And when you talk about primary production, the focus is about environmental hygiene, hygienic productions, handling, storage and transportation, cleaning, maintenance and personal hygiene. Now these are some elements which you all are aware, but this is something which is very difficult to establish in a farming system. And there would be a lot of producers and exporters of fresh commodities, so they would understand and appreciate the challenges that they face while they want to establish quality in their farms. This is something that also we as the scheme owners of IndiGap focus, that the pack houses needs to be also done in a manner where they would have a control of operations, they focus on personal hygiene, they also understand the product that they handle, because at times there are different pack houses for different commodities, and of course this is all which needs to be attained through trainings. Typically, people sometimes disconnect between agriculture, food, but what I say, if the agriculture or the raw commodity itself is loaded with contaminants, a food processor can't simply throw out that contaminants by simple physical or chemical processes. So what we advise or what we prescribe is that at the farm level itself, if we do a control, the raw material would automatically be of a quality where the processor has to struggle the least to maintain quality. So this is the typical pointers that we try to talk to a production system to keep in mind before they actually go through the process of certification. This is another part. A farmer wonderfully produces his commodities, but when it comes to transportation, storage, we see that there are issues. Mostly when the farmer has done his job, the collectors will put the produce in the soil or otherwise and create a situation of aflatoxins or contaminants, and it will actually waste all the good work done by the farmers. Now, always we talk about prevention is better than cure. So here is a slide which talks about the various kinds of layers that are required to be kept in mind while ensuring quality. And this is where we talk about systems. This is where we talk about ORPs and PRPs. We also talk about GMPs, and of course we talk about legislation, codes and standards. Now, this slide talks about the collective responsibility which I was mentioning few slides back. So who is responsible for quality, which means food safety and hygiene? The very first thing I think is a farmer. If you talk about aquaculture, we call it as a fish farmer, normal food production or normal commodities, we call it farmers. So they are loaded with the responsibility of implementing good farm practices. They are the ones who have to maintain records, and these are the ones, in case if there are larger groups that they have, to have group systems in place. The processor, in this event we see a lot of them, they are the ones who are loaded with the responsibility of production of safe food. We talk also about having productive dialogue with the regulatory bodies, because alone they can't make a lot of difference. So they need flanking support from the government, and of course somewhere it is their responsibility to upgrade facilities in terms of design systems and then implement it. The next part is the handlers. The handlers are the one, as I've explained to you, that people have done their work very nicely, but during the transportation or storage, most of these issues crop up, and then food safety issues are something that they need to tackle. Now this is important, and this is where everybody expects the government to do maximum. So to my understanding, the government is most as an enabler, because we hear this term as governance more often, and we talk in terms of their interventions into scientific technical, financial, infrastructure and regulatory frameworks which they should make, which is helping the stakeholders to become more compliant. Of course, finally it is the consumer, because if the consumer doesn't demand safe food, then whatever you do, there are no takers. So I think so consumer, which is I and you, have to be kind of sensitized to these requirements and then focus in terms of asking and demanding for that. And once you start demanding for quality food, suddenly we see that the whole supply chain, wakes up and tries to address the demands and the expectations of the consumer. Okay, this is an interesting topic, and this is what I have learned in the setup that I work. When you talk about compliance, which is quality compliance or any compliance, there are two paths to kind of ensure compliance or quality. Now, anything which is about health, safety and national security, the government steps in, we all know that. Be it food, be it defense, be it external affairs, be it trade practices. Now, what does the government do? The government comes up with an act. Within the act, there is a provision of a regulator. The regulator lays down the regulation. The regulation is basically focusing for having discipline and process improvement for the targeted bodies. It could be primary processors, manufacturers, whatever is the scope of this thing. They are given licenses, and how the licenses are given is through a set of inspector, either through the central or the state or mixed in case of medicine. We have an instrument called surveillance. This surveillance is a mechanism where we ensure that year after year the manufacturer or the processor actually continues to be compliant to the requirements. And of course, why we do this, or why the government wants to do that, is that the government wants that the consumer and citizen gets best value or quality out of the price that he pays. So this is one set of, or one path which talks about quality, specifically in sectors which concerns public health and safety. Now there is a second route, and that second route is what Quality Council is specialized in, is in the voluntary mechanism. While in the government system you have the force of the law behind you, the voluntary mechanism is basically driven through these three parameters. One is to derive quality. Second is to be competitive in the domestic and the global market. And third is to drive the global trade. So in case if India talks about, vocal for local and talks about being global about it, the only thing is to have some things which you voluntarily do, which is over and above the regulatory compliance that you do. So what is this voluntary mechanism? It focuses on the market-driven compliance. This is done through various voluntary schemes. Now, because you all people come from a very food background, some voluntary schemes, in case of farm production is Global Gap. In certain cases, if you talk about processed food, we know about BRC, FSC, 22,000, we can talk about IFS and others. So these are some voluntary scheme that aims to show that a company is quality driven and is competitive. All these voluntary schemes would have an individual scheme owner. So depending upon the scheme, there would be a scheme owner. Certain schemes that the Quality Council does has the scheme owner or co-owner as the government, and this is always driven through a third party. So the difference between what the regulator does is by sort of deploying NIST inspectors. These private or the voluntary schemes have a third party, and we understand third party as the certification body, inspection bodies or testing labs that would test the requirements as what is written in the scheme and issue either a certificate if it is a certification driven scheme. If it is an inspection driven scheme, it is done through the inspection body, and if there is some test required in the scheme, then it is done through a accredited 17025 lab. Now this also has the same requirement. The manufacturing unit or the processing unit needs to kind of adhere to the requirements of the scheme, and ultimately this is also for the benefit of the consumer, that the consumer gets the highest value for the money he pays for the goods and services. Now this is something which is how quality is driven in any economy, be it India or otherwise. The one thing which is important in the voluntary system, and this as Quality Council of India we try to talk, is that we should align these voluntary schemes to the government requirement, meaning which that we always have discussions with the regulators to say that this voluntary scheme would ensure XYZ parameters. So when your inspectors go for giving certification, we would say that if it is certified under any voluntary scheme, so please reduce your time because somebody else has taken to it. Earlier, there were no takers of this concept, but in our case, in one case which is the drone certification, the government actually relies on the third party due diligence where they issue a certificate which they call it as a statement of conformity before issuing license. There is a scheme, and I will talk about it, which is the hygiene rating scheme of the government, where the government or the FSSAI has told that if you have a 5-star, they would actually relax or extend the license by 2 years. So somewhere we are seeing that slowly the regulator is understanding the concept of voluntary scheme and actually is taking cognizance of these certification to reduce oversight when giving licenses. Now, this is the benefit. Everybody knows that, so I'm not going to waste your time. But this is a typical structure where you have a standard, you have a certification process, you have a third-party system, and then it carries a logo or a certification mark so that it tells the consumer that they are certified. These are the typical components of a certification or any scheme. You have a scheme owner, as I have just explained to you. There is an accreditation body. Madam Varsha is there who would speak in detail about that, and I'm not going to touch there. So, and then we have the producer group labs. So, what is a scheme owner? As I've just explained to you, in Global Gap, the Global Gap is the scheme owner. In IndiGap, which we do in country, QCI is the scheme owner. BRC, the BRC is the scheme owner, and they are supposed to be marketing and seeing compliance. The other part is the accreditation body to which Madam Varsha belongs. Now this is the body in case of India which has all the credentials in place. Again, she would speak about that. Then the third is the certification body. We all understand we have dealt with certification bodies if you have done any certification. And of course then we have these labs because all schemes at some point of the other talk about certification, and this certification is usually done by a third party system which would ensure that whatever is the requirement, they would test and give a test report. In our country, NABL is the national accreditation body, and wherever the test report carry the NABL mark, it is accepted in over 120 countries. The logo or the motto of accreditation is tested once, accepted everywhere. So this is the concept which also I wanted to share with you. And in case of production systems, when you talk about certification as organic, good agriculture practices, GAP, Global Gap, IndiGap or whatever, here there is a provision of having a whole group certified through a system called ICS or the internal control system. Now, coming to the important part, any schemes that QCI does in terms of focusing on quality, talks about site selection, water management. We also talk about pesticides, veterinary drugs, antibiotics. Traceability is a very important concept in all of our schemes. Record keeping is important because if you talk about certification, record keeping is an integral part. We also speak about the impact of environment on agriculture or any processing unit, and also vice versa, that what that unit contributes or deteriorates the environment. We talk about sanitation. In case of production systems, we talk about post-harvest and harvest practices, and of course all this is based on risk, so that is always an integral point. So this is some tenets of the quality systems that we do. We also understand that training, documentation and records are important and integral to a system. So these are always invariably a part of any schemes that the Quality Council professes. We also focus on documents and records and also see that always the latest and the most relevant requirements are only met in our schemes. So with this, I've just told you about the concept. Then this is the middle part. In a country like India or mostly the Southeast Asian countries, we always talk about the cost of certification. So we have instruments called group certification. Group certification, and an example in a production system is we talk about lot of farms. We also talk about the requirements of documentation. So we say that in the documentation, you could have a group manager, he could be one of the farm owners, and what his work is that he has to be responsible for seeing that there is a code of practice or the standard requirements by each of this farm. The farm is the group manager would call a certification body. It could be any body including Bureau Veritas, SGS, LECON or anyone. And these people will come and do a square root formula, which means if there are 100 farmers to be certified, only 10 farms will be audited, and if everything is fine, 90 farmers are going to get certified. Now, this is an example which talks about how certification works. So, if we talk about, for example, good aquaculture practices, then there would be a scheme owner. We have a committee system where we design the schemes. There is a process of accreditation where the certification bodies are supposed to see compliance between the certification criteria and the standards. There are various requirements which will be checked, and once the requirements are met, then a certificate is issued. There could be a logo, and this logo will be seen as to be sometimes told to the government to be recognized, so that there is a value add of the entire process and people can actually go and get themselves certified. This is a concept about the process. So the process is about these things which a certification bodies goes and check. I'm not going to go in detail, but anybody who has been certified knows that these are the requirements to be handled, and of course there are concepts where if they are not compliant, the certificate would also be withdrawn. So this is some concept which also I wanted to share with you. Now very quickly, 4-5 slides that what QCI does. So QCI focuses on certain things on agriculture and of course now on the hygiene practices. Always the focus of QCI initiatives is to align itself to the regulatory requirement, and if you see that this is all focused towards the FSSAI requirement, which talks about the code of practices not only from a domestic concept but also from the global concept. Now, when I talk about India GHP and this thing, it is a certification scheme for helping to assure that it is fit for human consumption. I'm not going to go into much detail. This is the other scheme which I was talking, which is the hygiene rating scheme, which the QCI does for the FSSAI. The focus here also is about the Schedule 4 on specific hygiene and sanitary practices. So the focus is on GMP. Also the focus is on good food hygiene practices. So this is something that is being checked by the auditing agency when they come to various places. The focus is on personal hygiene, on transportation, on storage, on some special requirements of high-risk food. So these are something that is focused while we do things. We are also looking at a lot of agencies who want to become a hygiene rating audit agency with us. So there are some requirements which we want you to be informed. So there are certain general requirements, there are some administrative requirements, there are some structural requirements, there are some resource requirements, there is an auditing experience requirement, and of course that there is complaints and appeals, because maybe you can become an hygiene rating audit agency, but if there is something that the client is not happy, you should also have a system to redress his grievance. So these are some things which I thought the audience would be needing to be understood, that if some of you entrepreneurs want to become a part of these rating schemes under the FSSAI, we would be happy to talk about it or ask you to fill the forms. There are certain requirements. I'm not going to get into more details, but this is a process where you can see that you can apply to us, get yourself registered as an audit agency and do the hygiene assessments of the eateries, and there are about 4 subsectors which includes dairy and other such fast foods and things like that, and you can give rating on the behalf of the government. So this is the second, I think so, second last slide. So as Quality Council of India, as my division, we do lot of such schemes which are voluntary, but in certain cases the government has approved it. So we have seen that the good agricultural practices that we carry out for India is going for benchmarking with Global Gap. We have about 15 projects already certified under this. There is some which we do for the medical devices. There is something which we have hived off to some other organization which is on personal certification. We do for ready-mix concrete. We have done for the GI, the geographical indication of goods. We also in fact are doing the drone certification for the government, which means that if you have a drone and you want to operationalize or commercialize, you have to come to QCI to get your this thing. And we have some other schemes also which is focused towards the association. Now with this, I thank you for your patient listening, and if you want to catch up on any of these, you can take our details from the organizers and get back to us. So thank you so much, and if there are any questions, I think so, let Varsha Madam complete her presentation, because that will give you the holistic view about accreditation, and then if there are any queries, I will be glad to answer it along with Madam Varsha. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pandey, for a very insightful session. I would like to now invite Mr. Umesh Kamble to present the token of appreciation to Dr. Pandey. I would like to invite our second speaker, Ms. Varsha Mishra. I will give an introduction. Ms. Varsha Mishra, Deputy Director at NABCB, working as a Deputy Director in NABCB, one of the constituent boards of Quality Council of India. Prior to this, she has a rich experience in food regulatory affairs, food quality assurance, food safety management systems, professionals with 17 plus years experience in reputed organizations, previously worked for Export Inspection Council, Ministry of Commerce, as well as work for Food Safety and Drug Administration, Government of UP, and Regional Food Research and Analytical Center, Department of Horticulture, UP. Her core competency are food regulatory affairs and compliance certification, food testing, quality assurance and quality marine seafood, HACCP, quality management system standards and technical regulations on food safety and analysis, SPS, TBT, internal external audits programs, project management, international technical evaluations and cooperation training and capacity building, documentation, production and process control, product development, technology transfer. A warm welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you today specifically the organizers to invite us from QCI to just inform you all the quality fora in this food sector. And my topic today would be food safety for nutrition and food, and what is the quality ecosystem in India. So can I have my slide, please? Yes. So I would be around my topic which is food safety and nutrition, and what is the role of conformity assessment and accreditation. So initially Dr. Pandey has already briefed you the role of conformity assessment, what is food safety and how it is playing a role in this whole system to give you a safe food. So I'll take you one by one. Next slide, please. Yes. So, can I do this from here?
This year's theme is accreditation, world accreditation.
you all to just view this a small video, which is basically for the food safety and how accreditation is related with it, so that you can give a complete idea that how this accreditation and conformity assessment is playing role to give you a safe food. So just have a look on this video.
Producers, suppliers, to retailers, brand owners, and consumers to contribute to the goal of safe food. Based on reports from FAO, WHO, and WTO, the impact of unsafe food costs low and middle-income economies approximately $110 billion US. The total productivity loss is estimated at $95.2 billion US a year. The purpose of the IAF and ILAC mutual recognition agreements is to provide users assurance that accredited conformity assessment activities, for example testing, inspection, and certification in other economies, operate to the same standard as those in their own economies. Accreditation, in the top of the quality infrastructure, provides confidence in the competence, impartiality, and consistent operation of conformity assessment bodies. Under the ILAC Mutual Recognition Arrangement, MRA, 73 accreditation bodies are recognized for providing accreditation for inspection bodies, and around 11,000 inspection bodies are accredited by those ABs to provide diverse inspection services, such as pre-shipment, plant health, meat quality and storage, slaughterhouses, and catering in hotels. The global trade of food has become highly complex and interconnected. Inspection reports are therefore relied upon in international trade. Accreditation reduces inefficiencies by decreasing duplication of audits and retesting or inspection. Accredited third-party management system certification bodies are relied on to conduct food safety audits and issue certifications of food facilities. Product certification bodies use ISO IEC 17065 to audit the production and supply chain of a diverse range of nutritious foods and assess their conformity to local and international schemes. Persons certification bodies are also used to assess the competency of persons carrying out a diverse range of functions in the food supply chain. The new standard for validation and verification bodies will also have its applications in the food industry. Accredited laboratories are used to take and test samples throughout the food supply chain, calibrate equipment used in the industry, and detect foodborne diseases. Around 76,500 laboratories are accredited worldwide by ILAC MRA signatories. These laboratories cover a wide range of services that can be categorized into types of testing, such as chemical, microbiological, packaging, environmental, sensory, plant health, veterinary, foodborne disease detection, etc. Conformity assessment is one of the 3 categories of measures that the TPT agreement applied to cover trade in all goods, including food. The 3 categories are technical regulations, standards, conformity assessment procedures. By facilitating trade and ensuring quality and safety of food products and processes, accreditation and accredited conformity assessment services directly contribute to the achievement of many of the Sustainable Development Goals, especially those related to ending hunger and poverty and promoting good health and well-being, hence contributing to the establishment of sustainable cities and communities. Let's all celebrate World Accreditation Day 2020. Accreditation, improving food safety.
Hope you have enjoyed this video. So this is the video why I have displayed here today. This was the theme which was for the World Accreditation in 2020. And every year there is a theme which we take, but today our topic is surrounding food safety. So I just wanted to tell you what is the scenario, as Dr. Pandey has informed us, like the conformity assessment, what it is, how it actually work for the food safety. Because when you are a farmer, when you are on the farm level, how do you understand the importance of your produce, which is you have to produce and it is going to sail across the world. So this is industry scenario. You can see one of the largest part in this world, and where we are into the food industry, and today we are all involved in these 2 days sessions. Like our economy is going to increase by food more than what we are expecting today in currently, and it is going to increase maximum more than 25% in 25 to 26. And major sectors which are contributing to the food processing industry in India is grain, sugar, edible oils. As we are, diverse country, we have a diverse kind of economy, and food is a very core competent area wherein we need to look into the conformity assessment. And when we see where we stand, so you can see India contributes 23% of the global milk production, which is growing at the case of 6.2 CAGR. Also, India ranks 3rd in the global egg production and produced at least 122.11 billion, and which is situation in 2021, and it was supposed to 50% increase in the market with the global egg as well as the fishery products. India is the second largest fish production country in the world, which is accounting for 6.56% of global production, with record fish productions of 145 lakhs, which was in 2021, and it is expected to increase simultaneously with the growth rate as of CAGR. And the core competent area, which is a very risky one, is dairy, animal husbandry, and the fruit and vegetable. And why I have played this video initially at the first slide, because you have to understand what is the international ecosystem of quality. So you can go from left to right or right to left. You have to understand where we stand when we talk about the quality ecosystem. So you can see in the extreme left, we have shown you the applicable, which is the applicable product on which quality is applicable. So you can see nothing is left. It is food, it is your vehicle, it is your phone, whatever the things you are using in your day-to-day life, for everything quality is most important. So in between this quality, you can see there are the different factors which comes into. So there are testing and inspection. These are the different conformity assessment tools which we are using. These are testing and inspection, standardization, certification, and above all is accreditation, which is totally voluntary in nature. So when we talk back and forth, you can see we will take example of certification. Already Dr. Pandey has informed you everything which is very much relevant to the food sector. So if we talk about certification, you can see, suppose it is a food product, and there are different standards which is applicable on them. So ISO 9000, 14000, HACCP, etc. is applicable to the food, and also product certification and other standards like CE. And when you go back, and you can see how this certification is complying with. Like how do you know that what certification you have attained for a product is actually at par with the global scenario. So you will go with the accreditation standards. What standards they are? They are ISO IC 17021, these are ISO 17065, these are 1 or 2 which is mentioned here, but there is a series which I will be mentioning in the next slide. So once we go up to accreditation, so who will check these accreditation bodies? So this also needs a recognition which is through different international organizations, which you can see in the extreme right, and these organizations are IF, ILEC, ISO, IEC, and others like WTA, OIMLA, and international systems. So you can see for the metrologically, similarly there is a traceability and recognition through international system, and when you go forward you can see it is applicable to all calibration of equipments, reference materials, verification, and which is leading to the nutritional and national value chains. So after understanding this ecosystem, what is the international trade scenario? So I hope everybody who is here, either they are the entrepreneur or they are studying food or they are already well settled in the market. So you have to understand your position where you are at present. If you are entrepreneur or you are planning something. So this is the international trade scenario, and these are the different relations in the trade which you have to look into. So you go into the center which is a common and the core part of this whole system is conformity assessment. And for which we are talking from last session to this session, like what conformity assessment will do. So ultimately by you are checking the compliance for your product. You are doing this for trade. Trade is ultimately abide by several factors. You can see it is abide by, you have to abide if you have a product in the market, you want to launch the product, you are abide by regulations, you have to standardize your product, you have to get an accreditation if you want to test it once and accept it everywhere. And if you want a traceability, you want to show the traceability from where it is coming and where it is going, and there must be a traceability, you have to look into traceability. And how these regulations, standardization, accreditation and traceability works, you can see the different arrangements. So when we talk about regulation, it is linked with WTO, standardization is with ISO, accreditation with ILAC and IF, and traceability CGPM. And so this is the worldwide agreement and arrangement and relations in the trade scenario. So this is about conformity assessment and risk. So you can understand from here also how independence and rigor of conformity assessment works when you are into the food system, food supply chain anywhere. Either it will start from the farm or you go up to the fork or ultimately to the retailer. So you understand the supplier declaration. So what is supplier declaration? This is a type of first party conformity assessment, and ultimately after all this supplier declaration and different various system which I will take further, you will go to the certification. What is that? That is basically a third party conformity assessment. So this is a perceived risk for which these data, these tools are used, and these are the interdependence and independence and rigor of the conformity assessment. So finally I will come to accreditation, because I know many of you are familiar with the word accreditation, and when I talk about the laboratory, definitely NABL is test for the testing laboratory which follows 17025. So let me give you a definition of accreditation, what it is actually. So basically accreditation is a global system for creating confidence between economies with the objective to promote economic growth and free trade, which I have shown you, like we are interconnected for the trade. You don't want your product to be in India only, you want it to get it out and touch the globe as a whole. So, and how it works, like accreditation is not only the thing we are only defining in the language or the definition, but it is already defined by the standard, which is ISO IC 17000, which says third party attestation related to the conformity assessment body, which conveys the formal demonstration of its competence to carry out the specific conformity assessment task. So the next question definitely it would come in your mind is, what is conformity assessment task? So conformity assessment task, body is the body, and activities, first let me tell you ki conformity activities what they are. So these activities are defined into the testing, calibration, inspection, certification of management systems, persons, products, processes, services, provision of proficiency testing, production of reference material, validation and verification. So these all are the conformity assessment activities, and it is also defined in 17000 standard. And how these activities are checked? These are checked by the conformity assessment bodies. And who are they bodies? These are the body who perform conformity assessment activity, and that can be an object of accreditation. So we use conformity assessment body. In short, we call it CAB. So CAB are the instrument who check this third party attestation to get the accreditation. And this is the slide just to tell you how this equivalence framework works. So you can see in the top it is IF and ILAC, and just next to it there are the different economies in which it works as per the economy. So if I talk about European Accreditation Cooperation, it is covered by EA. If I talk about Asia Pacific economy, then it is Asia Pacific Accreditation Cooperation. And when I talk about America, it is the Inter-American Accreditation Cooperation, which is II. IAAC, and under which there is an accreditation body. In India it is NABCB, where I am working. So below this is accreditation body, and below us, like with whom we are working, is conformity assessment bodies, that is IBs and CBs, that is inspection bodies and certification body. And what they do, they issue the certificate to the organization item for particular for which they are inspecting or certifying. And what standards is applicable, you can see there are different standards of accreditation. 17011 is applicable to ABs, ISO IC 17021 is for the IBs, which is basically inspection body. And when I talk about the laboratory, it is 17025, and when I talk about certification body, it is 17021-1. And for the product certification body, we call it PCBs, product certification bodies, so they are ISO 17065. So these are the different standards. And similarly, this is again an international, just to give you an idea in more simpler form, that international, what is this international recognition framework? So you have to understand how these mutual agreements and multilateral agreements works. So on the top you can say it is ILAC and IF, and under which there is a EA, IAAC, EPEC and EFRAC, and these are abide through the regional multilateral agreements. So you have to understand how this international recognition framework works as a whole. So these ILAC and IF organizations, they have an international multilateral agreements, below which are the regional different bodies for which the regional multilateral agreements are working, and below this there are national accreditation bodies for particular country. In India it is NABCB, and for which different NABs are working. So ultimately my point here, and today I would be taking this topic of accreditation, that it supports the food safety. You cannot understand at that level when you are producing the things, but ultimately when your product is ready, it is about to sell, and you are exploring the market, which is not in your home, it is outside the globe, and it's outside your country, then role comes here for the accreditation. So you can see I have just given you in short that how it supports and how different standards are working for it. So first is ISO IC 17021. This is for accredited inspection bodies to detect unsafe food and monitor hygiene levels. Similarly, the product certification bodies, they use ISO IC 17065 audit, the production and supply chain of the diverse food to establish the conformity to the local and international schemes. Some examples like GFSI benchmarking requirements also comes under this product certification scheme. Then again 15189, this is accredited medical laboratories have the competence to improve the health services for the patient affected by the foodborne illness, that is FPD. And when we talk about the environment, this is the environmental, chemical and microbiological testing, which refers with standard ISO 17025 for the accredited testing laboratories, which help to improve the water. This is specifically, I have taken only the example which is somewhere linked with the food or water. And similarly, it's not only whenever we talk about any process, we always talk about the competency and the competent person. So also the certification of the persons as per 17024 allows the valuation of the workers' competence, and it provides employers a trusted tool for the selection of competent person. And in case of food, you might be aware, many of you might be dairy technologists, some maybe marine technologists. So that competence, a dairy technologist cannot certify the fishery product. So that is why there are different qualifications, there are different examinations and testings. Why they are? This is just to prove the competence of the person who is working for that particular industry. Similarly, so you can see the different standards which I have referred in this slide. So ultimately these accredited conformity assessment services supports the effort to upgrade the technical capabilities of the food industries and to develop the sustainable and resilient infrastructure. These are other examples, I think almost the similar, but there are some different things I have added. I will not repeat. This slide is very important when you want to understand the accreditation and how it supports the food supply chain. So first let me show all the factors and all the points which comes under the food supply chain. Yes. So you can see from this slide what is the first. The first is the crop. what we call farm to fork. So farm is the first. Please go on the top and you can see the slide wherein you can see the crop and animal produce. So what we do, what as an accreditation body, how we will give confidence to your certification body, how you will get confidence for the person, for the certification body or the inspection body, that is through the accreditation standard, that is 17065, which I told you in the previous slide, that is PCB. Then it is 17021, this is for the inspection bodies. Then 17025, it is for the testing body. Next come the transportation. Whatever the crop and animal produce you have produced, it has to be transported. So here also the role of inspection body, which is covered by the accreditation standard, that is 20. And now this transported food products goes to the processing and packaging, wherein what certification applies, it is as per the accreditation standard, that is 17021-1. Again it is a distribution wherein again 17021-1 applies and 20 applies. It goes to storage. Here also the role of inspectors and inspection bodies. So again it is 17020. It goes to retail. Here all the product must be tested and it will be tested by some standard, and then it is must be from the accredited laboratories, which follows 17025, and it goes to catering and it will be served to you at your platter. Then what you have to see, the certification and inspection as per 21 and 21-1 and 20. So this is overall structure of accreditation standards which supports the food supply chain to give you a safe food. And this is also like accreditation is supporting SDGs related to the food safety, and these are the different SDGs which are directly linked with the food. So SDG 2, which is for the zero hunger, SDG 3, which is for the good health and the well-being, and SDG 9 is for industry, innovation and infrastructure, and 6 is for clean water and sanitation. So you can see all these 4 SDGs are running behind the food and infrastructure industry. So this accreditation is also a tool which support SDGs related to the food safety. So this is all about accreditation. You understand accreditation, now you got an idea about conformity assessment body, how it works in different food supply chain. But how you know about it, what is the status of this accreditation body in your country? So here comes the role of Quality Council of India. So you have to understand quality is everywhere demanded, but how it will reach you. So this is the ecosystem of accreditation in India. So we in QCI, we have our mandate to create accreditation framework in the country, spread quality movement, provide right and unbiased information, represent India's interest in international trade, and help to establish the quality of Indian products and services. So how we are created, like we are set up in January 97 by Government of India with SOCHM, CIA and FICCI bodies. It is an independent autonomous organization under DPIIT, which is part of Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And these, our QCI, I will tell you in the next slide also, QCI was established as a national accreditation body, and it is to lead the quality movement by undertaking a national quality campaign. And our chairman is appointed by Honorable Prime Minister of India. So in my previous slides, I have just shown you how international quality system works. So this is the ecosystem of accreditation in India. So we have a council, we have a governing body, we have a secretary general in the secretariat, and these are the different configurations. So we have a 4 accreditation board. You can see NABCB, where I am working, National Accreditation Board for Certification Bodies, then NABL, which is for the testing laboratory, then NABH, it is for the hospital, NABET is for the education and training, and we have a quality promotion board, that is NBQP, and we have a specialized project group also, that is PPID, LZ and PAD, and we have a specialized training and capacity building, which is TCB. So this is an ecosystem of accreditation in India. So now I'll come directly to NABCB and hitting you what we are doing actually. So we are the National Accreditation Board for Certification Body, and we are giving accreditation for certification bodies, inspection, validation and verification bodies as per the ISO standards and other requirement, which is internationally recognized through mutual recognition arrangement of ILAC, which is the topmost in our accreditation ecosystem. So we have a different system. I will not take much time. You can go through it. There are n number of schemes which pertains to different standards also. And NABL is the next very relevant, like NAB, which is for the testing laboratory. These are the different testing scope for the NABL, which falls under category of 17025. So you can see testing laboratories, calibration laboratories, medical laboratories, PT providers, and RM producers. So accreditation in NABCB, we cover maximum industries. It is not only for the food sector, it is for textile, it is for leather, and you can see a big list in this slide. And this is accreditation framework in India. So NABCB and NABL together form a part of international system of accreditation and equivalence, which is operated under the aegis of IAF and ILAC. And you can see what are the structure. Like ultimately in the top you can see accreditation, and we are clearly evaluated, under which is conformity assessment body. So we evaluate them as per the international standard, and these conformity assessment body, they are working for the product and service provided and provide them inspection certificate or certification certificate. So ultimately they are creating confidence, trust and assurance not only to the government, consumer, but also to the purchasers. This is our list. So how many accreditation body we are having for different schemes, just to give you an idea. These are the different standards. I will not go into detail because this is something, if specifically you want to know, understand, you can please write back to us and ask me. So as a NABCB, QCI is playing a very major role. PAD has a very different role, but they are creating a different types of things, schemes. But QCI as a whole, along with the accreditation body, if you ask, we are the part and partner with the regulators, QI body, even direct with the suppliers, purchasers, just to guide them, train them through our training and capacity building section also. So these are the few things wherein we are involved with the regulators. So this is the vegan task force where in QCI and NABCB involved. We are participating in different codex committees. You can see we are the regular partner with the screening committees of NABCB along with the FSSI. These are the different food sector. I have only given an idea about the food sector related caps which are under us. So for management system we have more than 28 accredited CBs. For food safety we have a 21. For inspection body, which this is specifically with the food and agri, and product certification we have more than 6 CBs. This is our international equivalence in accreditation. So we have signed different MRAs and MLAs, and equally NABL is also signed like different for testing and calibration since 2000. So this is just to tell you, in India I am telling you different like regulators, how we are working hands in hand together, but internationally all the agencies are relying on accreditation. You can say US FDA, even WTA TBT agreement specifically mentions the role of accreditation. European regulation has mentioned, MAF has mentioned, Food Standard Agency of UK, as well as the BRC, IFS, they have specifically announced the importance of accreditation and incorporated them into the regulations. In India, different governments and regulators rely on NABCB accreditation. So first is Food Safety and Standard Authority. Then because they specifically in their section 12.2 they have mentioned that mechanism of guideline for accreditation of certification bodies engage in certification in food safety management system for the food businesses. So they are leveraging accredited CBs for their food safety compliances. Not only FSSI, you can see CDSO for the medical device, PNGRB, DGCA, BEA, these all are the different regulators which are relying on NABCB accreditation. It is only just a screenshot and a glimpse of different accreditation bodies, ministries and regulators which are relying on accreditation. Scheme owners, already Manish ji has informed you different scheme owners. So these are the different scheme owners who rely on us. FSSC, Global Gap, BRCGS, Farming QS, Seafood Alliance, PEFC. So this will be the last slide, I hope. So ultimately what accreditation is, it is an international tool for assurance This assured technical competence, it demonstrates compliance to standard regulations and requirements, it increased operational efficiency, effective risk management, it facilitates selection of suppliers, it enhances competitiveness, customer satisfaction. So one motive is just you are tested one and you will be accepted across the globe. This is a way forward, like we know, like we need a certification, we need an inspection certificate, but this is also a standard 17024 which work for the professionals who are working for the food safety industry. This is our global vision, so you have to test yourself, inspect or certified once, but your acceptance should be everywhere. So the goal of this accreditation and the global vision is tested, inspected or certified once and accepted everywhere. Thank you very much. You are most welcome and thank you for patience hearing. And now you are welcome for any of the questions if I can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Mishra. We can have a Q&A session if anyone has any questions.
Yeah, before you ask your questions, two requests. One is to identify yourself, and second, if you have a specific question to anyone of us, you can take our names and pose the question. Before that, one small announcement. I see a lot of young people sitting here. So within the Quality Council, we have a provision of hiring young professionals. So there is one position which is for anybody who has a food background. And if you are interested to work in any of the field which I and my colleague had explained, you are welcome to share your CVs, and I will leave the email ID with the organizers so that you can ask them and you can actually, interact with us to see if we are suitable for you and you are suitable for us. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Nandit. My name is Ashish Deep Singh. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. First of all, I would like to thank the management for organizing such an event and Dr. Pandey and Madam Mishra to showcase such an informative presentation, and this was quite knowledgeable. So thank you for that. When you were presenting some of the slides, there were a few points about water management, providing clean water to the farmers. And my question is, what I want to understand is that when it comes to certification, right, we put a lot of things to farmers saying that you have to comply X, Y, and Z for us to give you the certification, right? But when it comes to the providing water, clean water to the farms, how is it assessed? That's something that I would like to understand. So the industries, they throw their all toxic sort of ingredients, toxic waste into the water, right? The same water is used in the farm. Then how can we call it organic farm or organic production? So that is something that I want to know. That what government is doing for that. Thank you.
Okay, let me take that question. So it is always government क्या करेगी हमारे लिए. Whereas if you see any standard, actually farming and others start from the site selection part of it. And I think so the first very crucial element in any of such certification is that what is the site that you are selecting. or as farmers or as private individuals to first see whether this site is appropriate. Would it be appropriate for X period of time? And if you find that everything is conducive, then please put your money in such operations is my submission. Madam, if you want to substantiate.
I have one question. Like you, see, if you are asking this question as an entrepreneur, the answer would be different. But as a whole, holistically, if you are asking this question, then it's not only about the food safety. It's not about only the thing which you are purchasing for you. It should be quality. Quality is everybody's responsibility. And safety. When we talk about food in this forum, we are specifically talking about the food safety. So food safety is everybody's job. And when you talk about the leaching, when we go into some system, you know, when you talk about any certification, so that is 100% true. You have to do these certification steps. These things you have to follow. So once you are into that system, then you know that these are the basic checklists, as Dr. Pandey told. These checklists are there and you have to follow these things. Tick, tick, tick. Ye sara ho gaya, now I'll get certification. But ultimately, that is for your particular farm or product or whatever you are preparing. But your responsibility not only, you know, stop there. You are not going to stop like everything done, I got certificate. Beyond that, there are certain other responsibilities which we call as social responsibilities. That is why this sustainability word, that SDGs are coming up. So if you are entrepreneur, you have an industry and I don't have, but I am residing somewhere near to you, that's my job also. If you are producing something like which is a waste material, it should not go into that area where people are not doing anything. So that is everybody's job. This is my answer. Maybe not exactly to your point, but this is something which is the job of everyone. I hope I have replied and thank you.
This is question for you, ma'am. I'm Anuga, food technology entrepreneur from Mumbai.
Please थोड़ा तेज बोलिएगा.
See, the problem with such organization is it is usually a monologue. So सारे speaker होंगे वो आपकी तरफ है. So we have some audio issues in terms of your voice coming to us. Can you push this speakers a bit here? Yeah, thank you. Please carry on.
Yeah, I'm Anuga, entrepreneur food technologist from Mumbai. For accreditation purpose, the charges or the total cost of the accreditation depends upon the size of the industry or type of the product.
It is based on the turnover. There is a list. If you are interested, you can write back to us. We will give you a detailed information on that.
Thank you.
Sir, just a sec. So you are talking about accreditation. Madam would give accreditations to certification bodies, not to the sectors. So I think so your question was on certification. So certification, as you rightly mentioned, is something to do with the detail with the commodity. So there are 2-3 aspects. So if you talk about food and farming, if you're talking of a production system which is a farm, the focus would be on the area and the crops that he grows. So that is what would constitute the part of certification in terms of costing. When you talked about processing, when a certification body visits your processing unit, it would depend upon the number of lines that you have and the number of workers that are working. So there are some matrices which is applied by the certification body before they give you a cost. So please differentiate between accreditation and certification. Accreditation is something that the certification body will do and they will charge. And when you're talking of certification of your units, that is a separate thing. Once they have accredited a certification body, the certification body then moves to the industry and then the industry people are given, you know, the codes based on whatever I have just explained. Thank you.
If you are an entrepreneur, if you have an industry, he rightly said, you have to go to conformity assessment body, he may be an inspection or the certification body. So we are giving accreditation to the certification body, we are not directly linked with the industry. So जिसका भी आपको certification मिला है, जिसने आपको inspect किया है, उसको हम then you have to see कि that certification body or inspection body is accredited by NABC. So direct link कहाँ से connected है, that is what intended, Dr. Manish.
So please.
Basically, it depends upon the turnover.
No. एक्रेडिटेशन आपको किसी भी इंडस्ट्री को सीधे एक्रेडिटेशन नहीं मिलता है, कंफर्मिटी असेसमेंट बॉडी को एक्रेडिटेशन मिलता है. सो सीधी सर्टिफिकेशन बॉडी या इंस्पेक्शन बॉडी या प्रोडक्ट सर्टिफिकेशन बॉडी उसको एक्रेडिटेशन मिलता है. सो अगर आप इंडस्ट्री हैं, सपोज आपको कोई फैक्ट्री है, तो आपको जो सर्टिफिकेट देती है मे बी एनी बॉडी जिसके पास में इंस्पेक्शन और सर्टिफिकेशन का जॉब है, उसको हम एक्रेडिटेशन देते हैं. सो वी आर अबव सर्टिफिकेशन एंड इंस्पेक्शन बॉडी.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. I would invite Mr. Nilesh Lele to present the token of appreciation. Thank you, sir. On behalf of CASMB, I would like to thank Dr. Pandey, Ms. Mishra, Pooja Shukla for traveling all the way from Delhi and conducting a very insightful presentation about the importance of certification to ensure safety farm to fork. Thank you, audience, for being a sport. Thank you so much. Do visit our stall C50.
One look upon you.